To the Mission Driven Life podcast. This is episode 169 of the Mission Driven Life podcast, guys, and it's the road to remembrance today. Yesterday I was at the Remembrance Day ceremony, and I got a chance to really pay my respects and think about myself as a leader and how leadership shows up in the military, right? Such a powerful thing to talk about. And what I wanted to share, because look, this whole month is a road to remembrance. This is, episode 169 of the Mission Driven Life. And I'm glad that you guys can be here because look, we're actually going to be diving into leadership today. Many of us have our own missions, many of us have our own goals, but today we're diving into Napoleon's leadership strength. Because look, I can talk about this for so long, and I bet you I need you guys to take notes because I prepared this in a fucking awesome way, and you guys are gonna get tons of value from this. Yeah. So before you join the Young Leaders in Action Facebook group, where you can connect with other leaders and other business leaders and people who are pushing it, moving things forward. Join the Young Leaders in Action Facebook group where you can tune in and get down. All right, because look, if you're tuning, drop a comment down below, smash that comment down below, and let me know that you're checking me out because look, this is valuable. I'm giving you some value today, guys, and only you can be here and only you can really gain some of this. So take some notes, grab your notepad because look, this is fucking value, guys. This is value that we're going to be diving in. And look, Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who people respect, people who look back on, people who understand, and who has led soldiers. And he's one of the best military leaders in the world. Napoleon actually did a lot of cool things. He was a very strong leader. He was a very passionate leader. And this is what he did when he was leading his men. This is what made him a great leader. And I'm going to give you more than 5 parts where you can learn about what he did as a leader. And this is all courtesy of discerning the history, where someone was actually learning about this. So I actually got some notes from there. The website's called Discerning History. So if you guys want to look at this as well. Napoleon was a hero. He was a soldier. He led his men. People trusted him. He conquered the world. He brought the French to the greatest revolution that they've ever been through. As he led his men, this is what he did to really gain influence with him. This is what he did to gain influence. And the first thing that he did is he would always read books on campaigns. Napoleon was a man who was a history man. He was always learning. And what he would always do, he would learn about different campaigns that ever happened in the world. Different campaigns that showed up, especially different battles. Different battles that happened in the world. And he would use these and he would study these because he wanted to learn these different tactics and strategies that these different history war leaders did. So he would take time to actually learn about that. He would read books on campaigns. What also was good about Napoleon was that he was good at interviewing. There was a myth that happened within the French soldiers that they'd always talk about how he was a man who could gain so much information from a prisoner. So he would get all this information from a prisoner of war that they would steal, and he would be really good at interviewing this person, like understanding, asking deep questions, right? And this is a powerful thing that I do. I sell using questions. I sell using questions. I sell using these different strategies that'll help you. And asking questions is a really good way to sell. So Napoleon would always do that, right? He was really good at drawing out questions by asking powerful questions. And I should do a training on powerful questions, actually. Maybe if you look back, I did one training on powerful questions and on how to ask powerful questions, how to use them in your own leadership and use them to coach. Because, asking powerful questions is a great way for people to coach, right? Now, the next thing that I wanted to share with you that I think is really important that I didn't know about him as well was he was good at campaigning. He was all about logistics. Napoleon was all about logistics. As he was communicating with some of his generals, he would actually write letters to other generals, to other officers, to other politicians in France and tell them how important it is to have shoes. He would always talk about how important it is to have shoes, guys. So he would write letters about shoes. to his comrades, to his soldiers, and he'd be like, "Hey guys, look, we need shoes. Shoes are fucking important. You know what I mean? We need to have some shoes because our soldiers need to march. You know, our soldiers need to get together, and our soldiers need to have the strength to also march into town and march off into battle." They needed those skills, right? So he would write letters about shoes. One interesting thing about him was that Napoleon was also very frugal. You know, I was actually reading a book. It's called The Millionaire Next Door, and it's a really great book, and it's on saving, and it's on millionaires. You know, they studied millionaires, they studied how they lived their life, and they studied how they used money. One thing that they talked about is that these millionaires would use money to the point where they would he would he would spend thousands and thousands of dollars buying his different mansions and different buildings and all these different palaces Napoleon had. But what Napoleon also did was that he would also be like, yo, I don't want to pay this bill. He would complain whenever there was a bill that was too high. He was smart with his money, right? He was very critical with his money. Because I find even to this day that this is the big mistake that I'm doing today is that, when I have money, sometimes I spend it. But sometimes the smartest people who are good with wealth, they know how to use their money. They know where to invest their money. They know where to put their money. And Napoleon was the same thing. He would actually be really frugal. So he would actually spend, he would buy all these estates, but there were some times where he would complain, and he'd also want to save money, especially when paying some bills or some massive expenses in his estate. He'd be like, I don't want to pay this. And that's smart. A leader needs to also lead his finances. And that's something I'm starting to use, and I think is really important, that I need to start leading my finances, get things together in my money, right? Like plan my budget, get my budget right, know how I'm spending my money, because I don't want to waste money all the time. But Napoleon would also be really smart with his money. What was really good is another strength of Napoleon was how he would use his thinking. Napoleon would compartmentalize his thinking. He could focus on one task at a time. He would be able to focus on one task, let's say planning a battle. Then all of a sudden there would be an emergency over here. He could actually put a pause on that in his mind and hold that in his mind and then transfer his thought and his attention to a next thought. So he would compartmentalize his thinking, right? And that was really good for his strategy. For example, one thing was that he would do was in 1805, one of his French commanders they were lost. Their division was lost somehow on the map. And they were looking fiercely on the map. They're like, where is this division? Where is this military unit? We can't find them. But what's really cool about how what Napoleon did was that, they looked on the map, but Napoleon had so much strength and had strong memory that he could memorize a map. Napoleon could actually memorize a map really well. And he had strong memory, and he actually found the unit by using the memory that was in his mind to really find the division that was on the map. I need to find out about how he did that, but that was really cool because I find that really interesting. I think leaders have different strengths, but Napoleon's strength was how he thought, was how he strategized. And look, leaders need to think in the right way and also use their mind. Napoleon was very organized in that way, right? He was very organized in that way. He would also make sure that his troops were fed. He would want to make sure that his troops had food to eat, that had strong things in their belly. He would want to make sure that his soldiers had food so they can march and they were well equipped, because he always had the end in mind. Which country that he needed to invade, he would always keep that in mind by being smart with his money and smart with how he used, their supplies. The next thing that I wanted to share with you guys is what made Napoleon a great leader was that he could remember people's names. Maybe you've heard about this before, but Napoleon had a really knack of remembering his commanders and officers' names. He would remember them. He would actually say things about them and be like, hey, how is your kid doing? And how's your father doing? And he would check in with all these different officers by their first name. He would actually remember their names firsthand and understand their names firsthand, right? So that was really cool. That is honestly amazing how he did that, because how could you remember people's names if you had that, right? I wonder what made Napoleon great in his thinking. Did he take fish oils or something? What did he some was it something that he ate? Did he meditate? I wonder what made Napoleon have a great and strong mind, because I need to start using that. Another thing was good about, Napoleon was his charisma. When he escaped from the Isle of Elba, when he got captured, he got sent to the Isle of Elba to prison. But when he left, he suddenly escaped his exile. When they tried to exile him away, there's a French regiment was sent to capture him, was sent to capture Napoleon. But Napoleon Bonaparte had strong charisma, which is a part of someone that had a great personality and confidence, was that when he escaped, he's like, look, I'm here. I'm here for you to capture me. If you want to kill me, you can kill me now. He was so brave and he was so charismatic and he was so confident in himself that some of these soldiers switched sides. And I've in some recent trainings, I've in some of our master classes, I remember there was a Russian president who did the same thing. When soldiers were sent to arrest him, tanks were sent to arrest him, this president climbed onto the tank, was like, I'm here. If you want to kill me now. He was defiant and he had charisma. All these soldiers actually switched sides when this Russian commander suddenly, Russian president showed his charisma, right? Now I want to ask you, I gave you a couple value tips on Napoleon and his life. Now, what can you use to start using this, right? Can you learn about battles? Can you learn about businesses? Are you good at interviewing, asking powerful questions? Are you really caring about supplies and being organized with your logistics in your company, right? Such as he would write letters about his shoes. He would write letters to his generals about how important shoes are. Now, and when you think about it that way, that is a leader at his core who knew the needs of his soldiers. Can you understand the needs of your people? Because that's what Napoleon did. He was also very frugal, right? He was organized. He compartmentalized his thinking. He had strong thinking. He had great people skills. He could remember his soldiers' names, his officers' names by hand, and cool facts about them and use them in conversation. That's a great way to build influence. The last thing is he had strong charisma that people would follow him. He had that strong charisma that people thought he was so confident they were willing to switch sides. So what can you use? What can you use this to start leading today? This is the Mission Driven Life. Thank you for tuning. Subscribe to our podcast. Find us on Apple, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, all over these different platforms for you to share your mission. And if you want to be a guest on our podcast, email kevin@thewarriorleadership.ca and I will get you everything you need there. So I hope you guys have a great day. This is the Mission Driven Life. Take care. Different platforms for you to share your mission. And if you want to be a guest on our podcast, email kevin@thewarriorleadership.ca and I will get you everything you need there. So I hope you guys have a great day. This is the Mission Driven Life.